5 self-assessment questions every sports family needs to answer. This is the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship Podcast, episode number 179. Welcome to the longest-running podcast on recruiting and athletic scholarships. I'm Jon Fugler, your host. I'm an athletic scholarship coach and a dad of 2 scholarship athletes. I'm also the CEO of Recruit Me, a podcaster, author, and speaker, and we're in the 5th year of the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship Podcast. Our sponsor is the Athletic Scholarship Recruiting Planner and Journal, your personal go-to resource for a successful recruiting experience. If you've tuned in the past, you know that this thing is something I've been working on for a while, and it'll be coming out this month. So get ready for a very, very valuable resource. I'll tell you more as that day gets closer. We are just days away from getting that released and really making 2020 a great experience for you. Well, speaking about 2020 and a great experience, I'm hoping it'll be better for me than 2019 was at the end. As you know, that if you listen to the past, I had my LeBron James accident on the court. You'll have to listen to the last episode to get the details on that. But recovering from that injury, as I sat here last week recording the last episode of this podcast, I felt better. And then I got worse. I ended up coming up with a extremely excruciating, painful sciatic problem all through my left leg and back. And if you've ever had that before, you know how that is. So I come to you injured once again, but I'm here. I showed up. And as you know, one of the biggest things you can do in this whole athletic scholarship pursuit is show up. It's a long-term experience. There are going to be days you don't feel like going for it. There are going to be days that this just gets tiring. It gets boring. It wears on you. You have disappointments. You have setbacks, and you just want to quit. But when those days come, just show up at least. Victory happens when the first step is you show up for the game, okay? And that happens with athletic scholarships too, this whole recruiting thing. It can be a mind game on you. Don't let the mind game get you down. Overcome. And what we're going to talk about in a series right now, it's a series I call Planning Your Execution Plan. And I've got today, that first part of it, your 5 self-assessment questions every sports family needs to answer, because we want to start in the right place. Here we are, first of the year. If you're listening to this in January, if you're picking up past episodes and you found this, you stumbled onto this, hey, the things we're going to talk about here, they are important any time of the year. But since we all just turned the calendar, this is extremely helpful to get you off to a good start in 2020. And there's things that I would suggest that you ask about yourself. If you're a parent, this is about your son or daughter. If you are the athlete, be honest and answer these questions about yourself. You got to have a starting point. You got to be on the starting line. Even if you've been running this recruiting race for a while, you're making a new lap, okay? You're passing the starting line again here in 2020. And I encourage you to ask these 5 questions that will help you springboard for the future. So you're not going about this thing haphazardly, but you have focus. So what are those 5 questions? Let's go through them right now. The first one is this, and I asked these questions, by the way, mostly from the athlete's standpoint, all of these. The first one is, what are my 3 greatest athletic strengths? My 3 greatest athletic strengths. And good, off the top of your head, I don't want you to think long about this. What comes to mind right away are your 3 strengths athletically. Now, if you're a multi-sport athlete, think about what are your 3 strengths in each of those sports, or maybe overlapping. I mean, if you've got speed, that's going to help you in just about any sport. But it's good to categorize these by sport because you're going to be pursuing your athletic scholarship by sport. You got to go through the same process with each sport that you're considering and going for the athletic scholarship in. So what are my 3 greatest athletic strengths? Just top of your head. And parents, you answer this for your son or daughter too and see how this matches what they have. That'd be kind of cool. You got a 30-second timer on this. And you say, okay, 3 greatest strengths. What comes to mind? Boom, boom, boom. So that's the first self-assessment question. The second one is this. On the opposite side, what are 3 weaknesses I need to overcome? What are 3 weaknesses I need to overcome? Now, I'm one who likes to pursue strengths. You know, the whole Strengths Finder assessment that you may have seen out there. We can work on our weaknesses all we want and really go backwards, because our strengths, we bring those to the table. Those are the things that make us competitive. Those are the things that coaches are looking at, and we need to make our strengths stronger. So as you identified your 3 greatest strengths, don't let them sit there on the table. How can you become stronger in each of those strengths? So on the weakness side, I don't want to dwell too much on this, but you got to be aware of your weaknesses, your shortcomings. And some of these you do want to improve. And the top ones, the top 3, I would suggest that you consider shoring up a little bit, becoming a bit stronger. I'm not just talking about athletic strengths. That's the first one. Yeah, you want to look at, hey, what are, or weaknesses, I should say. What are my athletic weaknesses? Maybe it's academic. Maybe it's personal. Maybe you got some personal weaknesses that character-wise, perhaps, or just personality, things that you need to overcome. But just pick 3 weaknesses. And as I said, don't get too introspective about this. Top of mind, again, 30 seconds. Sit down, parent, athlete, you make your own list and come up with the 3. When you're thinking of 3 weaknesses, don't just include athletics. I mentioned include academics, personal, other things that you might want to throw in there. But what comes to mind as 3 weaknesses that might be a barrier from you getting an athletic scholarship? So that's the second assessment question. So the third self-assessment question is this. This is kind of cool. This is open-ended. What 3 words describe the ideal college athletic program? Okay, you're going after an athletic scholarship. You got to have something in mind. I mean, you're not just shooting into the wind without a target. I mean, as you think about it, again, 30 seconds. What 3 words describe the ideal college athletic program for you as an athlete? And then parents, you're making your own list too, and you compare them, see how they come out. What's your list, parent, for your son or daughter? Now, this isn't as much of a self-assessment question as the others, but it is really, because you want to see what you're thinking. You got to have a target in mind, a goal in mind. So without thinking too much, what 3 words describe the ideal college athletic program? I'm thinking 3 separate words, okay? Not just 3 words that like very good academics. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for 3 words, just like you had your 3 weaknesses and 3 strengths. I want 3 words that describe the ideal college athletic program. So you have something to work from when you get that. I don't know if you've ever thought about that before. Okay, assessment question number 4. There's 2 parts to this. Part A is this. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is our family's knowledge of recruiting? Maybe it's 0. No. So I don't know how long you've been into it. And that sometimes the longer you're into it, the more you realize how little you know. But how would you, off the top of your head, don't get too introspective on this again, quick, 10 seconds. What would you give it on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the least? What is our family's knowledge of recruiting? So that's part A. Part B, what are 3 ways we can improve our knowledge of recruiting, our knowledge and expertise? You might have rated yourself as a 10 or an 8, probably not a 10, but let's say an 8. And you're kind of in the expert range. Well, how can you improve that expertise that will give you an edge? If you have a knowledge of recruiting, knowledge is power, folks. Knowledge is power. If you've got the knowledge, then you have an edge. Increase your knowledge as a family, not just as an athlete, not just as parents, but together as a family. Increase your knowledge. That's going to put you ahead of others. So what are 3 ways that you can improve your knowledge? You can buy the Athletic Scholarship Playbook. Did I say that? No. Just kidding. And the planner too, when it comes out. But that's the fourth self-assessment question. That's 4A and 4B. And then finally, the fifth one is this. And this isn't self-assessment. I would say this is self-action. I always say action produces traction. You can have all the knowledge in the world. You can do a great assessment, but if you don't do anything with that knowledge, then kiss that scholarship goodbye. Here it is. What 3 actions will I take in the first quarter of 2020 to achieve my goal of an athletic scholarship? What 3 actions will I take in the first quarter of 2020 to achieve my goal of an athletic scholarship? This is one question I don't want you to just answer off the top of your head. This is one I'd like you to discuss if you can as a parent and athlete, as an athlete and one of your coaches or a mentor. But this is really serious stuff here. This is what's going to dictate your steps, at least as you know now, for the next quarter. If you're listening to this later on down the road and it's like August, let me just say this. What are the 3 actions you'll take in the next 3 months to achieve your goal of an athletic scholarship? But at the first of the year, what are those 3 actions? You may not have any idea. You may be like, I have no clue. Well, come up with something. Have a starting point. You know what your strengths are. We talked about that. You have weaknesses to overcome. What the ideal college athletic program is that you're shooting for. At least you have an idea of that. Your knowledge of recruiting, those all blend together and may contribute to this last most important question. What 3 actions will I take in the first quarter of 2020 to achieve my goal of an athletic scholarship? You've got to get off the dime, out of the starting gate. You got to get moving here. What 3 actions will you take? Okay? And here's what I want you to do. I want you to email me what those actions are. All right? That's part of accountability. Email me at jon@recruitme.com and tell me what those 3 actions are that you'll take in the next 3 months to achieve your goal of an athletic scholarship. Well, this is a self-assessment that you can probably do by sitting down for a half hour and get this done. You have a choice. At the end of this show, are you going to just say, hey, that was good, that was helpful, I'll get to it, and move on with life? Or will you take it seriously and do these things? Ask these questions. Do a self-assessment. You may come up with 5 more questions for a self-assessment that you need to ask as well. But these are foundational, especially as we talk about planning, laying that foundational plan, that plan of action, so you can save time, save money, maximize every week that you have between now and graduation, where you can be on the radar of the right college coaches, that you can move forward step by step to an athletic scholarship. This is important. I don't care if you've been at this 4 months or a year or 2 years. These are good questions to ask along the way. So don't put this away. Write these questions down. Ask them again 6 months from now or a year from now. Things change. You're not going to be the same person. You're not going to be the same family. You're going to be down the road another 6 months or a year. Ask these questions again. So self-assessment questions. Hopefully that helps you out. Well, that's it for this episode. Next week, it's part 2. And I'll be talking about how to set yourself up for recruiting success. Planning part 2, how to set yourself up for recruiting success. If you do have questions, you can go ahead and email me at jon@recruitme.com. jon@recruitme.com. If you think about it, pray for me as I go through recovering. And I'm a sore guy right now. And I'm sitting here just relaxing in the chair as I bring you this episode. Episode number 180 next week. Have a great week.